Provo, Utah is famous for two things: Brigham Young University and being the longtime world champion most conflict-averse culture in the world. I actually can't document that second thing, but the first thing is true. So let's start over. Provo, Utah is famous for one thing: not being able to buy groceries west of the freeway. This might not seem like a big deal to you if you're not from Provo, but the current mayor promised in her campaign that she would give us a grocery store west of the freeway. Where is it, Michelle? It's been years. So it's no surprise when you see a bunch of protesters on the steps of City Hall. So obviously that's not what this is. This was part of a nationwide protest against Donald Trump and the current administration. And there's been a fair amount of coverage of the fact that, oh my goodness, Salt Lake City got a big protest, even though it's in red state Utah. I think if you find that interesting, you must therefore be more interested in the fact that the much smaller city of Provo got a sizable protest itself. I wanted to pretend I was a journalist, so I went there and I talked to the protesters.
I'm Arian Newell. I live in Orem, Utah, and I was born in Provo 70 years ago. Very concerned about the lack of due process and all of the cuts that have been made that are going to make it so hard to access Social Security help and Medicare help and Medicaid help. It just seems impossible. Those organizations will be broken every week. There is new crap coming out. Yeah. So we wear the signs for that week, and then we find next week we have to change it to some new crap. Also, if you're from Orem or anywhere in Utah Valley, you want to join us, every Saturday morning at 11, we walk a little bit of State Street, and we pick up garbage.
Arian raises a good point. There is so much malevolence and incompetence that just oozes out of this administration on a daily basis that is actually, you're going to see a fair amount of opinions and diversity in what people are coming to this protest for. For example, when I wrote this script, we had just found out that there is a second unsecured chat in which Pete Hegseth gave out classified plans, warning our enemies in advance what was going to happen and putting American servicemen in danger. And by the time this is published, who knows what the next disaster will be. There's just so much happening, and there is so much to protest.
Hey, I'm Sam.
Why'd you come to the protest today?
It was really hard to narrow it down to just one reason. But this last week has been crazy with the amount of disregard for judicial process, the rule of law, the administration's refusal to abide by judicial orders, and they're either saying we're not going to, or they're playing dumb, as in, oh, well, I don't know about that, you're going to have to ask someone else. Look, I'm a BYU student, or former BYU student. I remember taking the American Heritage class. In that class, we studied the play A Man for All Seasons about Sir Thomas More. And a principle that class and that play instilled in me is the law needs to apply to everyone, or it applies to no one. Either we all get the right of due process and we're all subject to it, or else no one is. And that is the single issue I see this administration flaunting and defying the most at every turn.
That was a pretty popular theme I saw among the protesters I talked to, was the collapse of rule of law. And frankly, at time of writing, that is the biggest concern I have about the direction of this country. No one, in fact, was protesting the closing of a Chick-fil-A, which might be what you would expect from a Provo protest. But that would never happen in Provo.
Hi, my name is Karanda Hamuli. I'm from Payson, Utah. I've lived in Utah my entire life, and I love this country. I just have so much hurt in my heart for what's going on in our nation. I'm hurt for my trans friends, I'm hurt for my immigrant friends, and I want equality and due process for all. I'm so in support of the House Bill 267 that we're trying to pass in Utah right now. Okay. I think that unions deserve more support, and they deserve to be heard, and that workers deserve more rights.
That's the collective bargaining bill that you're talking about? Perfect. What I find interesting about this objective is that it is actually state of Utah specific. And I don't think that necessarily represents a dilution of the protest's focus, so much as the Utah state legislature has been emboldened to do a lot of MAGA-ish things where they are attempting to take power away from the people. And this collective bargaining bill is such an action. I also point this out because I want to try and eradicate the idea of purity tests in political movements. All political movements are going to be groups of people who want close to, but not exactly the same thing. And while I'm sure a lot of the people at that protest would agree on the bargaining bill, there are surely things they wouldn't agree on. It's about a question of priorities. And so if you want to see change, get out to the protests. And again, I can't overstate how impressed I am that Provonians were galvanized to protest like this. That's like getting chewed out by a Chick-fil-A employee. They have to be really mad.
My name is David. I am agender. I came here because I am very passionate about my political views and my opinions. I feel like this nation is currently. May I use profanity?
Yeah, go ahead.
This nation's going down to use informal terms. I quite strongly believe that Trump is a fascist. The actions that he's taken, I enjoy history and I study it frequently. And the actions that he has taken in his rise to power are startlingly similar to the rise of Hitler in Nazi Germany. Same rhetoric that Hitler used to get into power. He was just targeting the Jews and Romani and surprise, gay people. And then here, Trump has been targeting illegal immigrants. He's specifically been saying Mexicans. He's been saying just foreign people in general. And of course, gay people and also trans people. Yippee!
I censored David's name here because they're a minor. Also, they explicitly asked me if it was okay to swear, and I said yeah, and then I censored it anyway because I'm a tricksy little goon. Here's the uncensored version.
May I use profanity?
Yeah, go ahead.
This nation.
Doo-doo. David's point is a good one, and it's a theme we've already seen emerge, where there is so much to be upset about, and it's safe to assume that the people at this protest are actually upset about the same suite of things, but it's difficult to just pick one. That's like trying to pick one thing off the menu at Chick-fil-A. However, just like Chick-fil-A's Spicy Deluxe Sandwich, I do think there is one objective that would help stem the tide here.
My name is McKay. Partially the reason I'm here is that there are people being thrown in prison without trial, which is a violation of numerous parts of the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and not Bill of Rights. Because of that, I want the people involved to be put in prison through a trial, obviously.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add to that. Just like a Spicy Deluxe Chicken Sandwich, you don't need to add anything to that point to make it good.
I'm Erin. I've been going around to protests basically everywhere. I've gotten connected with a lot of the people who are standing up nowadays. And I'm currently trying to become the Democratic Progressive Caucus chair for Utah County. Before 3 months ago, I was completely allergic to politics. But once I started looking at everything that was going on, I found that even from a sort of independent, logical standpoint, there is so much to be concerned about right now. And before that, I was planning to go into science and stuff just to try and make life better for people. That's basically the only thing I care about personally. But I'm realizing now that politics are also incredibly important to have people who aren't worried about their own benefits.
I feel like with a lot of Americans, allergic to politics is kind of the default state of being. And I get it. I can't fully empathize with that. I've always been a little bit of a news junkie, but I get it. I do understand. Another idea I've never really bought into is the idea that every single presidential election is the most important election ever. I do think there's a truth to that in that your current selection of breakfast sandwich from Chick-fil-A is the most important one because it's the one you're dealing with right now. But also, the stakes have not always been very high. In this case, I think the stakes are enormously high, which is part of why I'm making this sort of off-brand video. If you agree, then get out here and help. One way is to protest. I'll put a link to 5051 and Indivisible. If you follow them, you'll be able to find out where, when, and how with future protests. And another is to donate to causes that are fighting for democracy. I recommend the ACLU, but there are a lot of worthy causes out there. Right now, by the time this video comes out, there should still be days left on the Humble Bundle Buy All the Wheel of Time ebooks and donate to the ACLU. I strongly recommend doing that. And I'll also put a link to just the ACLU in case you're watching this video later. Several small creators have also found different ways for you to donate to these causes.
My name's Michelle Volz. I'm a local artist from Lehi, Utah. I have got this community art project called the Handprint Project that I've been doing. And we support people who are seeing some real struggles because of funding issues and things right now. The Trevor Project, the ACLU, which is actually helping a lot of the immigrants who are having issues right now have representation, and the Wounded Warrior Foundation after the veterans money got cut. So that's what we're out here trying to support. You know, I really want people to see that people matter. I think that that's why a lot of us are here, is that we matter, our neighbors matter, there are communities that matter, even immigrants matter. Like, amazing, right? Like, we matter. And you know, there's a lot of different labels that we put on people, but it's really important to remember that it's a person, that these are people. And so, and I think that our government, our leaders are forgetting that they're dealing with human beings.
If people want to support your art projects and these causes, what do they do?
Okay, so they're gonna go to my Etsy shop, Volts Art, VOLZAART, and they can buy any of the products here, and they will support these different causes. And that's the hope, is that we can help to support these people who are struggling right now. I think there's an understandable desire to see this as a conflict between the American right and the American left. Those made sense to me, even though they were reversed on your screen. And why not? The right and left are the Chick-fil-A and Popeyes of the United States. As such, I asked these protesters, is there a message you would like a Trump supporter to hear? I'd be a little surprised if a Trump supporter made it this far into my video, but if you're here, this next section is dedicated to you.
I met a woman this week who was a Trump supporter. She has several relatives who have green cards. She kept insisting to me, you know, about they came legally and everybody should have to come legally. And it's like, well, how would you feel about one of your relatives being picked up now if they get a traffic ticket? Or what was the BYU guy who got for a fishing license problem? Are you going to be so excited then? Because no, they're not doing it legally. They're not doing it legally. So you don't have any safety by saying your relatives came in legally just because they have the green card.
Mostly what I think that Trump supporters need is to just think critically. Like, it's easy to see stuff that you like and that makes you feel good, that cements your worldviews, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I think that if they think critically and try to dig deeper, like the Department of Justice is using Fox News as their sources these days. And, you know, that's kind of dumb. Fox News is making up stuff half the time. They don't need to tell the truth. And so, like, just look at the actual court cases if you can, dig in. And if you don't know how to do that, maybe reach out to somebody who does.
I'd say take a look at how Vladimir Putin became president, compare it to what Trump looks like today, and then take a look at how the people in Russia are faring, especially the people who supported Putin.
I don't hate you, for one. I don't think you're a terrible person. I think that you may be misinformed. You may genuinely hold convictions. You may be informed and decide that, yeah, I hold my opinions firmly. I would just like you to know that I'm a person. A lot of people here are, not even a lot of people. Everyone here is a person, unless they're an adorable little doggo running around, because there's quite a few of those. I think that if you've only ever interacted with whatever target group you've been hating, like for example, gay people like me, just sit down and have a conversation with a few of them. It really does open your eyes. I can say the same. I've talked to Trump supporters, and talking to them, and I guess if we're talking to a Trump supporter right now, it would make it, it makes it a lot easier to understand where they're coming from. And even if you don't come to an agreement, it can make it a lot easier to understand where someone's coming from.
Guys, it's okay to admit you are wrong. It's okay. We won't be mad.
It is the power of the people, all people. I don't believe in left versus right. I want everyone to have the same amount of rights. I want everyone to have faith in who they vote for. And I want everyone to have the same freedoms, privileges, and rights.
I really do think the Trump supporters have checked out of my video before now, but, you know, I get it. I'm not complaining. I understand. What I will do to sort of increase its reach is I will take this last portion, I'll trim it down a bit, throw it on social media, try and increase its reach. But look, if you do care about what's going on, please donate, protest, call your representatives, do it for Chick-fil-A. You know, I'll even put my money where my mouth is. If we get President Trump impeached, I'll buy 5 of you Chick-fil-A sandwiches. I'm not that rich.